We're going to be targeting some extremely violent offenders today.
Within moments, the officers are on the move, with eyes on their first target.
Waking up to news that mass deportation started today, so if you're an immigrant, please know that you have the right and share this to everyone that you know so everyone's aware. You have the right to remain silent. If ICE knocks on your door, you don't have to answer it. Do not consent to any searches if they do not have a warrant signed by a judge. They don't even have the right to be in your property, so please remain silent. Do not sign any documents, especially if you do not understand. If you are in public and ICE stops you, please remain silent. You do not have to disclose your immigration status. They do not have the right to search your belongings or your bag without a warrant. You do not have to answer their questions. Please do not give them information that they can use against you. Share this information to people that you know, your friends, your family, especially if they are undocumented immigrants. Please stay on the lookout. Look up for each other. If you spot ICE in your area, share to keep your community informed. And to my fellow immigrants, I know this is a scary time, that there are community and resources that can help you. Know your rights and please stay strong.
My immigrant mother just called me on the phone innocently asking me if she should start carrying her passport in case they start doing mass to prove that she's a citizen. That's so sad.
Hey guys, ICE raids start on Tuesday, so La Migra. La Migra. You see ICE, you shout that at the top of your lungs. Got it?
So this is the guy who is terrifying our community. Sir, can you identify yourself? They're saying that this is police, but they are ICE. Sir, can you identify yourself? Sir, why are you arresting working class people? You're ICE, you're not police. Why are you saying that you police? Don't you feel bad, people that is working?
Here are some things that you need to know to stay protected. For now, ICE is most likely to enter businesses. So let's say ICE comes to the place where you work. What are you gonna do? Do not sign anything under any circumstances. You are going to assert two rights. The right to remain silent, make sure to actually say that, and a right to call your attorney. Every immigrant should have an immigration plan, which should include memorizing your immigration attorney's number. If you don't understand what they're saying, what they're asking you, and even if you do, just keep asserting those two rights. Don't say anything else. Here's what's super important. There's a new act that's going to get passed called the Lakeland-Riley Act. Innocent until proven guilty, doesn't exist. You can be charged for a crime and be immediately deported even if you're not proven guilty. So there is a huge incentive for ICE officers to charge you for crime. No matter what, no matter how aggressive they are being, do not be aggressive back. Do not resist. Do not give them any reason to charge you with a crime. If someone is there that could film the interaction between you and ICE, even better, so that there is evidence that you are not being aggressive. And now a little disclaimer, because I am Latina and I am scared of our racist government. I am not an undocumented immigrant. I am a US citizen.
Donald Trump wasted no time reigniting his immigration crackdown. According to NPR, raids are targeting cities far beyond the border, sparking outrage and fear among communities. In Newark, NPR reports that ICE detained both undocumented migrants and U.S. citizens in a controversial raid.
We have confirmation of an ICE raid at a business establishment in Newark, New Jersey that led to the arrest of a U.S. military veteran.
ICE did a raid in New Jersey today, and it proved that this was never about undocumented immigrants. This was never about criminals or safety. This was about imprisoning anyone who they deemed to be an immigrant. ICE went to Newark, New Jersey today. They went to some random business venue and just started arresting people. They arrested anyone who they thought was undocumented. And within all the people that they arrested were U.S. citizens and a U.S. military veteran. And Newark, New Jersey's mayor, Ross Baraka, is completely disgusted by the actions of ICE today, and he is calling it out. He said that the U.S. veteran was ridiculed and the legitimacy of his military documentation was questioned. He's also calling out the fact that ICE had no warrants in conducting any of the arrests, and they just showed up to this venue and started indiscriminately arresting anyone who they believed looked like an immigrant. It's also being loud at the fact that these actions are a violation of the Fourth Amendment. This is exactly the response that we should be expecting from our politicians. Baraka is not going to let this slide, and he is standing up for his residents. This was never about going after undocumented immigrants. ICE will arrest anyone who they deem looks like an immigrant. It doesn't matter if you're a U.S. citizen or resident. If you look like an immigrant, they'll arrest you. And that's exactly what we've been trying to warn people about. They are not just coming for undocumented people. They are coming for everyone.
So here we have some videos where people showed their reacted to what is happening now. So let's watch them.
Honestly, guys, at this point, it's more than blue or red, black and white, whatever the fuck. We live in such a cruel world today that our children are no longer safe in schools. People are no longer safe in hospitals. People have the biggest fear to leave their house to go to work, and also living in the fear that they don't know how they're going to provide for their family. And it's even more so sad that so many Latinos, so much of our raza is pro this Chiro guy. I don't even want to say his name. But I ask you guys, let's come together in prayer, because what else can we do? Spread the word, share resources, let people know they have rights.
Considering that the ICE raids are happening right now and a lot of immigrants are going to be deported back to their countries, I would like to share my story as an immigrant. I was born in Mexico City and now live in Mexico City. But when I was 4 years old, my dad was offered a job to live in Boston, Massachusetts. Well, in Framingham, Massachusetts. And my parents took it. They decided it was a great opportunity to live abroad. And so we moved as a family when I was 4. We lived there for 7 years, and they were a great 7 years. I had an amazing childhood. It was early 2000s. I was, living in New England. In Massachusetts, it's a beautiful state. It was very liberal. It was super diverse. I grew up knowing people from all over the world. And it really felt like this vibrant American spirit of, if you want to come here and dream and make your dream come true, you can, And so I really appreciated the US a lot. I would say the Pledge of Allegiance proudly, and I was also extremely proud of being Mexican. For me, it was an honor to be a Mexican immigrant. We lived 7 years in Framingham, and then my dad was offered a better job in North Carolina, and so we moved to North Carolina. Now, that story is it has its own story. It was very complicated, and definitely it was a huge culture shock. It was very different to New England, completely different. It was not actually the South. And so, we lived for a year, and honestly, I will tell you that I hated living in North Carolina, and I wished to not live there any longer. And it's funny because that year my parents decided to change their plan. We would come to Mexico every 2 years and do all of the legal immigration paperwork in Mexico City, because we would first come here. But that year my parents decided to go through Arizona from the north to the south. And so our date to go to the embassy was going to take place in Nogales in the north, in the border. And I don't know if it was because it was the border. I don't know if it was just bad luck. I don't know if it's because of Obama, that Obama had just entered presidency. I have no idea. But the point is that year, my father did not have a paper. They told him that he had his visa had expired. He was not gonna be able to renew it. And he would have to live in his country of origin for a year before he reapplied for that same visa. And because my dad didn't have the paperwork to be able to apply for another visa and not have that happen, they told him that they were going to cancel our visas. And so he, even though he asked for an extension, he said, no, I have this paperwork. I could go back in my house and bring it. The consulate said no and took our visas, canceled them, and told us that we would have to wait a year. Of course, my father's boss was alarmed when he heard the news, and he tried everything to plead to the government that they grant him an exception. They grant my father an exception, and they didn't. He went to higher courts, they didn't accept, and we after a few months of living here, my parents understood that we were not going to go back. And so they put all of our stuff into storage units. They asked our neighbors to do that because we were renting a house in North Carolina. And we were first living with my mom's friend. And then eventually my parents said we have to rent our own place. And we rented a place in a tiny apartment here in Mexico City. The problem was that my dad was not being hired here. They said he was overqualified. And honestly, I think it's due to a lot of nepotism in companies, and that people don't actually want to be competitive. And so they weren't hiring him because they were like, no, you're going to take my job. And so my dad was being paid meager wages to in contrast to what he was being paid in the US. And my mom had to start working to be able to make ends meet. They had put us in private schools here in Mexico because the public system is not that good. And that economic struggle made them not be able to pay a few months the storage unit. And so my dad was notified that the storage company had sold our storage unit. And I remember when my mother sat my brother and I down and told us that news. I remember asking her, what about my dolls? What about my photo albums, my childhood photo albums? What about, and I would ask her all of these things that don't really have monetary value, but are very valuable to a person. And she said, everything is gone. We have nothing anymore. And that year was funny because that trip that we had made, my dad didn't want to travel, didn't want to pay for luggage. So he said that we could only bring our handheld luggage. And so we had traveled super light. And so I didn't have, the things that I had brought were I brought my Twilight books, now thinking about it, I was like, oh, I would have brought so many other things. And even though that was extremely painful and it still kind of stings, it's still very terrible. One of the really, really difficult things that I had to live through was having to integrate my identity, In the US, I had been a Mexican immigrant. I was proud of being a Mexican. I was for me, being being from Mexico was awesome. I loved talking about Dia de los Muertos, really exemplifying our culture, whatever. Even though what I learned was not completely authentic because I didn't grow up here, but I was definitely proud of being Mexican. But I was also super proud of being an immigrant and being an immigrant in the US. For me, that was a great thing. I didn't see the US as a terrible, terrible thing, because it was still the time when, you know, like, we all believed that the US was a champion and was amazing, and that, you know, they were doing amazing things. And so here in Mexico, the view is a bit different, you know. We have very, like, it's a complex theme to talk about, you know, how Mexicans perceive the US, but there's a lot of resentment to the US, a lot. And I lived through that, like, in the first person. I was even told one time that I wasn't Mexican because I hadn't grown up there, which I understand. I understand why that classmate had told me that, but also it was extremely painful to be told that, when I was like, bro, I don't even have a green card. Like if I'm not Mexican, then what the fuck am I, you know? And so, I don't know. Now that I see what's going on, my heart really goes out to all of the immigrants that are going to come back to their countries. It's not an easy process to come back. There's a lot of culture shock. It's not, because the country that you left is not the same when you come back. And you as a person are not the same as when you come back. So it's going to be a difficult time for a lot of people. It's going to be very painful. But I really hope that all of you understand that there is hope, that even if you lose everything, you will be able to build it back. And you can build it back here in Mexico. Like, there is a way. But it does take a lot of resilience. It's not easy. Sometimes your family sometimes doesn't entirely embrace you. But I would say, like, if you have friends, reach out to them. And also try to build community with other people that have lived through similar things. Now I think it's going to be a lot more common. When I came back, I didn't know anybody that had lived through that. But I will say that all of those Mexicans that will be coming back are definitely Mexican and do talk about one identity of our culture and our country.
Meanwhile, NPR highlights Chicago's commitment to remain a sanctuary city. Mayor Brandon Johnson reassures residents that local authorities will not cooperate with federal agents, ensuring undocumented families' rights are protected.
And I want you to know that if someone in school will ever want to talk to you and ask you where are you from, or if you're from here, you do not have to answer them, okay? You do not have to answer nobody. If you need a parent, you always need to have mommy or daddy next to you at all times, always, okay? You don't have to, if someone were to ask you, I need to talk to you, I have some questions to you, what do you have to tell them? Do you have to talk to them? No, you don't want to talk to anybody unless your parent is there. Talk to your kids, prepare your kids, because we just never know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, the next couple years. Unfortunately, all we can do is just prepare ourselves and our kids for anything that can possibly happen. I pray for every single person out there, and I wish, the next 4 years to go by smooth, and just pray for every single one of you, because we just never know. And this has barely been a couple days, and it has been a mess, and it's been a pretty sad month. I just pray for every single one of you. I know I'm not the only American feeling that way, because I've been feeling super, just the vibes are just definitely off.
So ICE is showing up at schools and churches. I am in the Lexington area of Kentucky. I do not have my son for the next 2 days. If you need an auntie to pick up or drop off, please message me. And I'll be taking my microphone to churches on Sunday in the parking lot. If somebody could just let me know the pronunciation. I guess I'll Google it. Magira and whatever. Like, I'm going to F your plans up if I can. I have white privilege and I'm going to use it.
Hey y'all, I've already seen a mass amount of people blaming all Latinos for the Trumpian win, particularly those that voted in Florida and Pennsylvania, but I want y'all to know that Mexican people demographically do not typically vote for Republicans. It is actually typically Cubans and other Central Americans. This is courtesy of Pew Research Center. As you can see here, Cubans typically are the ones who vote for the GOP, and Mexican people typically tend to vote for the Democratic Party. This is because Cubans live in a country that is heavily sanctioned by the United States, and as a result, it is very impoverished. But the Cubans who migrate here are under the impression that the reason that their country is in shambles is because of socialism. So they fundamentally oppose any policies that are beneficial to the general public because they are afraid of communist policy. And it's important to get specific because there are many different ethnic groups inside of the Latino community, and that includes Black people. There are Haitians who are Latinos, and don't y'all forget.
All right, my fellow Latinos, stop scrolling. Watch this video if you're Latino and you live in California, or even if you don't live in California. There are two big things going on right now within our community. One being the whole ICE raids that are going on in Bakersfield and Bakersfield surrounding area. I would love for you guys to tag any attorneys or any kind of resources specifically towards the ICE raids. I don't care, stitch this video, duet, screenshot, whatever you need to do. Would love for this to turn into a thread of a resource. And as far as the fires, I've posted stuff on my Instagram for food and shelter. Those in LA that have been affected or displaced by the fires. Please, 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 like, this is a time for us to come together and help each other out within our community.
The last 3 days in LA have been like living in hell, not only because of fucking fires that are surrounding us everywhere, now because of the ICE raids that are attacking the Latino community. My Latino community is out here helping people who have lost their homes, is helping the firefighters by making them food. There are vendors out there right now who are not even making any money and are just giving out food to people who have lost it all. And now they have to be worried about being taken by ICE. The people who work in the fields right now who are being, first of all, hit by this contaminated ass air, that are still going to work to make a living for their family, because it's the only type of living they can make because they don't have any papers. They are undocumented. Taking care of fruits and vegetables that we need to survive here in the LA community. They are now being forced not to go to work because they are scared of being detained by ICE. It is important for us to educate our family members who don't speak English that they have rights. They should not be speaking to ICE at all. They have the power to remain silent. They have the right to have an attorney and should not be discussing any of their personal business with an ICE officer.
If you're trying to learn Spanish in 2025, the two most important words for you to learn are la migra. La migra. Okay, let's say it one more time. La migra. That means ICE or immigration. You see ICE on a vehicle, that's not the ice that you put in your drinks. That's the ice that ruins people's lives. So you are going to yell la migra as loud as you can and maybe cause a distraction. Help buy them some time. You can also say la migra llegando, which means that they're coming or they're here. If you want to be more discreet about it, you can say, is that la migra? The most important thing is for them to hear la migra as fast as they can. They'll know what they need to do. Be loud. ICE raids are apparently already starting. Chicago, San Antonio, DC, I'm blanking on the rest, but I would not be surprised if there are more cities than they've listed. Be vigilant, be helpful, be alert. They are people and they have created their lives here, okay? Help them out as loud as you can. La migra, la migra. Like I said, those are the two most important Spanish words to know. I also saw a few creators say to them, no hables, which means don't speak, no hables, and abogado, which means lawyer. Abogado. Abogado. You can say pide abogado, which means ask for a lawyer. No hables, pide abogado. Pide abogado. If you have heard of any other phrases to use, you can comment them below. Feel free to pass this on.
I do not mean to get serious on a Wednesday night. Sorry if you're having a good day, but I think it's important to spread awareness about what is happening right now in Bakersfield, California. I live pretty nearby, and I don't know if you guys have heard, but there is or has been an ICE raid. Basically like immigration, capturing and taking families apart and stuff, I just wanted to spread a little bit of information on your rights, just in case you don't know, or just in case you're put in this situation. Hopefully, I'm praying to God that you are not, because it is very scary, and I'm very sorry for those people who have been having to be put into that situation recently. If you were to ever be put in this situation, just stay calm. That is the best thing you can do. Keep your hands where the police can see them. Do not provide them with any false documents, anything false. They will hold that against you. Remember that anything you say or do will be held against you at your you know. So do not risk anything. Do not threaten the officer. Just remain calm and just chill out. Do not lie about your status. Do not provide false documents. Do not even say anything about your status. You have the right to not answer any questions. You do have the right to not say anything. You do not have to speak. You do not have to tell them anything. You do not have to answer their questions. All you have to do is stay quiet. There's nobody allowed to search you, nobody allowed to take possession of any of your belongings, nobody's able to enter your house without a warrant. Make sure you see that paper, make sure that they provide you with the paper if they want to have access to your premises. If you are over the age of 18, make sure that you are carrying your papers with you at all times, and if you do not have them, you tell the officer that you do not have them at the moment, or you don't even have to tell them anything at all. You can just stay quiet and let them know that you do not want to say anything until your lawyer is present. So remember what I said, you have the right to remain silent. They do not have a right to search you. They do not have a right to ask you where you are from. If you are arrested or detained, you do not have to talk to them. You do not have to say anything. Also, you are required a lawyer.
So I decided to keep my daughter home because she had a little bit of a fever. So I go across the street to Walgreens to grab her some Tylenol. I see 3 undercover cops. They look like undercover cops to me, but I didn't think none of it. So I left Walgreens. I went to 7-Eleven real quick to grab me a French vanilla frappuccino real quick. So I go in there. I see 4 more of these. Right. So I asked one of them, I was like, hey, are y'all undercover cops? Because I just seen like a couple of y'all up the street at Walgreens. And he was like, something like that. He was like, we're here from out of town working. He was like, but, have a great day. You could tell he wasn't trying to tell me too much. But I was being nosy as hell at this point. So tell me why I get home. My neighbors are immigrants, right? They packing their shit up. They've been packing their shit up for the last 3 days. They said that they're moving to the Southlands area because they are, tired of seeing these Venezuelans over here, lurking around late at night. And I don't see them over here. But when I do my comedy shows and I get home late at night, that's when I be seeing these motherfuckers lurking around. So I be having my taser, my pepper spray on that, and I hurry up and I run to the house because my son be watching my daughter for me when I be doing my shows. So it hit me. It hit me when I went to take out the trash and I seen them damn Venezuelans packing their shit up and leaving. It hit me like ICE is really fucking here. ICE is really here in Denver, Colorado to do these raids. If you have kids that are born in America and you are undocumented and your kids are U.S. citizens and they born here, they are not considered U.S. citizens. Like everybody getting set the fuck back at this point. And so it makes me nervous for the people that I know that are hard workers that are genuinely here trying to get their paperwork done and trying to get their paperwork in order. Those are the people that I feel bad for. The only people I don't feel bad for is these damn Venezuelans because they do be out here lurking at night and they do be into shit. They be touching people's shit, stealing people's cars. They do be out here doing the most. Those are the only motherfuckers that I feel like gotta go. But everybody else, y'all please be safe because ICE is out here in Denver. So please be safe and stay out the way. And I know y'all ain't gonna see them damn Venezuelans trying to clean them damn windshields today because ICE is really out here. Be safe, y'all.
Tell me, how do you feel about these enforcement actions? Share your thoughts and please subscribe and share this video. See you next time.